You are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to another episode of Flipping the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to this beautiful Saturday morning. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Zach Chavalella, Eric Reese. We are Flipping the Birds. What's going on, guys?
Your hockey's back too, though.
I can't get into hockey. I've tried so much.
You gotta get. We have a Russian guy here.
Go to a game. Go to a game in person.
Time out. Hockey games in person are phenomenal. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but it's just phenomenal.
I understand it's kind of hard to get into Flyers hockey because, but
well, he'd probably be an Islanders fan anyway.
He's probably a Rangers fan, and he's probably low key if he did watch the game last night, going, "Yeah, they wanted a shootout." But yeah, I know.
I have a question.
Look, we got our Russian guy, and he scores a power play goal in a rookie game, nonetheless. But his first technical goal in his first technical game. So
how's Philly's baseball doing right now?
How's Philly's baseball doing?
Yeah.
Top of the NL, right? I mean, not yesterday. Yesterday, another Clemens pitched, and he did not look like Roger. Put it that way.
Well, so Brian, I know you're trying to gloat that your Mets did win yesterday. However,
the Mets won a game. Out of 100,
Aaron Nola. You have prime fall Aaron Nola tipping pitches. You have half of the team is actually part of the Red Titans.
This is not flipping the excuses. No, we're not doing that.
I mean, I just told you that we were like second in the NL and like.
I'm sorry. Are you doing a parade for regular season shit? Like, no, what do you have going on?
This is where the question came out of, because I was driving home last night and I saw that the Mets won 11-3, and I was like, wow, like they beat the Phillies 11-3. But then during the week, there was tweets out there complaining about Phillies baseball, saying this team is not going to make it. Mind you, like, I feel like you guys have been coasting throughout the whole season, doing your thing, and it just hasn't been on my, like, we haven't been on your level to discuss this kind of thing. So I'm just curious.
I mean, outside of it is happening
out there.
I mean, I would say that, over the past couple of weeks, even I've even felt that the Phillies aren't going to win the World Series. I felt like, maybe a championship series or divisional series is about as far as it gets. And it's mostly because we rely too much on the long ball. I don't think that we're, a solid enough small ball team. That's the reason why last season they went down. I mean, this is here we are again talking a different sport and flipping the birds. But nonetheless, it's like also the pitching too. It's like Taijuan Walker. If he could be, if we could bring back,
I told you guys about Taijuan Walker a couple years ago. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I feel like you told us about Zach Wheeler too, in a way that didn't work out.
Zach Wheeler, no. Zach Wheeler was the most dumbest move the Wilpons ever did, besides the Bobby Bonilla crap. Like, Zach Wheeler should have never been.
What about the Max Scherzer signing? What about that?
The Phillies getting Zach Wheeler from the Mets was like the Eagles getting Saquon Barkley from the Giants.
That's true. Well, that's a double dagger for Well, listen, like to put a bow on the whole baseball thing, every single baseball team sucks, right? There's no good baseball team right now. Yankees suck, Phillies suck, Brewers suck, Dodgers suck.
The only one that's good is the Oakland Athletics, dude.
It's any team's game come October, because every freaking team sucks right now. So, we'll see what happens in postseason baseball. But you talk to any fan base, and their team freaking sucks.
Well, who doesn't suck right now? Well, who doesn't suck right now is the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off their big win over the Packers. They'll be facing the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football, another primetime game. Philly and Atlanta. I know Eric really wants to dig into the Falcons. Atlanta Falcons. They invested big money in Kirk Cousins this offseason, and then went ahead and drafted his predecessor afterwards. Kyle Pitts is there, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, who's been declare it as the second coming of Saquon Barkley. We have the first coming of Saquon Barkley here in Philadelphia. How do you guys feel about this game? Is this one of those games where it's too? I feel like it's too early to call it, but it's one of those games that's possibly a trap game because of how bad the Falcons looked last week.
No, not thanks, Chief. I hope it happens. I don't have all the faith that it will, but I hope it happens. No, nonetheless, back to the Falcons real quick and what you're asking. No, I don't look at this as a trap game whatsoever. A trap game, in my mind, would mean that you are at least worried about a team on an upset. I think the Falcons should be more worried. I think the Falcons should be more worried about trying to beat a team when, like, on a day that they score a touchdown. Dude, the Steelers, as Zach and I were talking about, they didn't score a touchdown and still beat the Falcons. You know how many touchdowns the Eagles scored? At least more than one. I'll put it that way. At least more than one. So at the end of the day here, no, I don't think it's going to be a trap game. But what I'm looking for is execution. So this is the game, not a statement game either. I feel like that's too cliche. But I'm looking for a blowout win. I'm looking for that. I need to see some reassurance that, okay, we've cleaned up a little bit and the Eagles will win this game the way that they should, in the margin that they should. So this here, guy, I gave it away within the first 7 minutes, but yeah, you know which way I'm leaning here.
How you feeling about the game, Zach?
Yeah, Eric. Yeah, well, I'll keep that joke to myself. But anyway, I feel pretty confident about this game. I mean, you're talking about going up against Kirk Cousins without an Achilles in prime time. There's nothing to suggest that this is going to be anything on Nick Foles' retirement night. Like there is no way that the Eagles lose this game. And I'll be back on here on Tuesday to eat whatever crow may come my way, but there's no way that Philadelphia loses this game. I don't care what concerns there are about the defense against this Atlanta offense. Those concerns are not, this defensive line, whatever concerns you have about the pass rush against this Atlanta offensive line, they're not concerns, right? So this is going to be a game that I don't want to say like a get right game because the Eagles are 1-0. But this is going to build confidence for Philadelphia. I feel pretty confident in saying that.
And I don't disagree with that at all. I feel like you kind of mentioned it there. The pass rush against an alien Kirk Cousins, they did their thing against the run last week. So I'm not too concerned about Bijan Robinson, even though he is a dual threat weapon.
Is he officially an AT alien now, or?
I guess so. Is that still
okay? It's always going to be a thing. What do you mean it's still a thing?
I feel like we grew up in it.
It's just not the main thing, but it's still absolutely a thing.
He's an AT alien. Yeah.
I'm curious about Bryce Huff.
That joke was so much better than any of you stooges gave credit for, and I'm furious about it. So help me.
No, I thought I agreed with it. I thought
Eric chuckled. I heard him chuckle. It was
I need my Outcast crew. Oh, I got a chuckle. Okay, whatever. Go on with it.
It was a chuckle.
What you want me to do is sing so fresh and so clean. What do you want me to do?
I'm sorry, Ms. Jackson. The pass rush. I'm concerned about the. Are you guys concerned about the Bryce Huff project? He didn't get so many snaps last week. We did see a lot more of Brandon Graham. Devin White should be playing in this game. I know there's thoughts out there, and I know Zach. I want to say it was Zach that pitched it in our chat of using Devin White on the edge, possibly. How do you guys feel about?
What the hell are you talking about?
I feel like it was you.
I didn't pitch it. I put someone. I referenced an Eagles reporter who pitched it and said that's not going to work.
Okay, there we go. So tell us why it's not going to work.
Yeah, sure. So, like I get in theory where that person's coming from. You look at the size of Devin White compared to Hassan Reddick.
Can I let the whole cat out of the bag real quick before you get too far deep?
Dude, I remember, that this person may be a guest. So,
all right, never mind.
That in mind.
I guess we won't name names.
We should not.
I'll just get back to what I was saying. And so, you're comparing the size and it's I see where you go from that standpoint. I don't think that's the end all be all. I understand Hassan Reddick made a conversion from linebacker to edge rusher. You're talking about doing this mid-season with a guy on a 1-year deal and a guy who is they're both still relatively young in their careers, but it's still not been the same journey. Like, Devin White has seen more success at middle linebacker than Hassan Reddick did when he was playing in Arizona, right? So you have a guy who is more confident in his ability to play that position. You have a guy who does not have the pass moves required in order to successfully do that. Now, are you going to play this guy on blitzing downs? Absolutely. Like, this guy, I think, will get involved in the blitz. I think that's really the only time Fangio is going to want to play him. But even still with that, I would say that my confidence level in the rushing group overall is still not great. It's not going to be bad in this game. But moving forward, I do have concerns, and I don't think moving Devin White to edge is the answer to that.
Is it a big deal that he lost his starting spot? I mean, do we feel like it's a huge deal
to him?
Okay.
Yeah, I think in a sort of way that White and even Bond to an extent, like, before the season took off, they were kind of here as like, all right, well, they're more so White, a veteran who's going to be starting on a linebacking group that's young and unproven, and then Bond ends up being the most proven thing in week 1, with he only one getting 2 sacks, or a sack at all, but he has 2 he finishes with. So if it's something where, like, I don't think it's any sort of concern. I don't think, about the linebacking group. I thought you kind of saw the cream kind of rise to the top here. That's part of the reason why there was even a tweet that was brought up about White, maybe being a rusher, which, again, you have a 1-year deal with them that's it's never been his cup of tea. I don't think you do that all of a sudden just because that kind of shows that you don't really know what you're doing with your linebackers. I think that's more so the answer there. But no, like I have no worries about the linebackers because our linebacking group, as far as who should be the starter and if it changes on a week-to-week basis, even that's fine. This group is really a mixed bag of like, okay, who's hot this week? Who's making the right reads? Okay, if this person have such a bad game where you want to see somebody else, that's fine too. It's a group. I know I don't look at these 4 linebackers that we've talked about, even including Trotter on this, as like we have starters. No, we don't. We have a group of linebackers that can be facilitated and probably work on a game-to-game basis. Now, when you go into this week, it's absolutely Bond and it's absolutely Nakobe Dean, because that's what made sense. Now, until one of those, either it falls through completely, then you might see White, and then if there's an injury, you might see Trotter. And even at that, I'm not even totally concerned because they're going to look exactly like how you thought. One's going to be a veteran and one's going to be brand new.
Sure. The thing that I would say is I don't know. And you can say that Devin White lost his spot, right? And I think that there's some truth to that. I also think Nakobe Dean won his spot. And I think that's something that we have to recognize as well. That's such a positive development for this team. There's so much concern about the possibility of Dean being a bust. And that's a word that I have used as well. And to his credit, he's shown out. And say what you will about him in pass coverage, mind you, he's still a young, inexperienced linebacker. So that's something that can clean up over time. But the guy is able to track, his man decently well, and he's a hard hitter, and he's played well against the run. So I think that, when you consider those things, you can see how Dean won this spot, and that type of versatility that he has in his game too, which Devin White doesn't really possess. It kind of screams Vic Fangio. So I think it's pretty easy to see why Fangio has kind of preferred Dean. I think that's where you kind of have this moment where it's like, well, what is this long-term future with White going to look like? Is this something where, and there were trade rumors even before this week 1 matchup. And is this something, I don't think they end up trading him, but is this something where they kind of eat the guarantee, which is, I think is around like $4 million. Do they eat the guarantee and then do they move on from White? That's something that I think, based on how White continues to handle this, I think that's going to be something that may come up down the line. But I think they like what they have out of their starting guys. I think that what's been seen out of Jeremiah Trotter is very good so far. It's not great depth, so I think they want to keep White, in house, and I think they want to utilize him in a role. But it's going to be tough to kind of balance that, considering the expectations that he was presented with by the organization when he first signed here.
And if Bond could keep up, and I'm not saying keep up at his pace, but keep up at his quality, because he was a pretty much sure tackler in week 1. He doesn't have to get
in pass coverage too.
Right, like he doesn't have to. What was his total? 15 total tackles. I mean, it would be cool to see somebody get 15 tackles a week and just still not be slowed down through the whole season and potentially the playoffs. But that's the human body. It takes a toll. So you go and think about, what are you going to do with the linebacking group? Well, Bond isn't expensive, and he's already shown that he's going to put the work in. Dean is somebody that Fangio's, you've seen Fangio trust the younger players, and Dean's somebody who's,
I like the fact that Fangio challenged him in the offseason.
Yes.
And made it saying yeah, he's not doing well. And then out of nowhere, hey, he's the starter.
Yeah, no, and it shows that he earned it in that way too. And having depth in White, it's okay, you are confident that he knows what he's doing. Obviously, Trotter is going to be the rookie who might get a few snaps going into even next season. There's still going to be room to add another linebacker, whether it's a veteran, whether it's through the draft, however Howie and the Eagles want to go about it. But the linebacking room, it's more so a revolving door, and that's how the Eagles treat it. And it seems effective that it's a revolving door. Only 1 week into the season, but I think it will be effective moving on through the season too. But I'm not looking for a constant 15 tackles or 2 sacks. You do hope that your defensive line can alleviate some of that and collect on the sacks as well. But what you are looking for is that kind of damage control in the run. Josh Jacobs last week, 80 yards rushing. That's it's okay, but it's something to kind of go back and revisit. You had 84 yards rushing from Josh Jacobs, and Emmanuel Wilson had 4 carries for 46 yards, average 11.5. So it's not necessarily that the Eagles' rushing defense was fantastic, but there was damage control. That's really what it came down to win that game.
Yeah, bend don't break.
Yeah.
So with that being said, players to watch on Monday Night Football. I'm sure we all have one player in mind. I'll kick it off. I'm going with Devontae Smith, just because this is his first game of his career. It was against Atlanta. He did show out. I think he had 71 yards that game. But it seems like Smitty's in a role where it's just he's gonna be heavily relied upon. I think once Jalen kind of settles in the pocket a little bit, gets comfortable again, and finds his confidence, we're gonna see a lot more big time plays from Devontae Smith. And I think this is one of those games where it's kind of we don't need AJ to carry the load. Smitty's here. Maybe we see a little bit of John Dotson, but I think that Devontae Smith is my guy to watch.
That makes total sense.
We doing offense, defense?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you wanted to do somebody who looked pretty strong last week and see if they run them through, and then someone who struggled. But let's do offense, defense. Who's your defense, Brian?
My defensive guy, I'm curious, and this is not so much of a compliment. I want to see what the hell we have in Bryce Huff. I mean, the fact that Brandon Graham plays so many snaps and Huff was limited, you don't pay big money for part-time players. I would have, if this is what the approach is going to be all season with Bryce Huff, then I would have preferred that the Eagles paid Hassan Reddick, because it just makes zero sense to me if he's not going to be who you sold him to the fan base to be. I'm just going to say that like that.
I still would take Bryce Huff over Hassan Reddick, because one has seen a football field.
That's fair.
But I
if
would
the Eagles had
still,
extended him beforehand, before trading him, he would have seen the football field.
yeah. But now he's at Otakon, and he hasn't seen a football field. Like I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it would be so much different, even because he's like maybe he's doing this because it's like, oh, I don't really want to play for the Jets. Well, he didn't want to play for the Eagles, so maybe not Otakon. Maybe just be at Comic-Con. He would still be at a con.
If two teams haven't given him a number that he likes, how high is that number?
He apparently wants like top of the market number. Now, I'm sorry, but
Which is insane.
It's
but
like you have a guy who.
Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors.
No, I cut off Zach. That's on me.
Well, all I was gonna say, I'll just make it quick. You're talking about a guy who, yes, his sack numbers have been prolific. Yes, that is one of the biggest parts of that position. But you're talking about a guy who has been suspect, as a run defender in the past. You're talking about a guy who there's whispers of him in the locker room. You're talking about somebody who, and I get that the coaching situation was terrible and he was far from the only guy, but straight up rebelled against the coaching staff last year. And I think those are all kind of problematic things that you don't necessarily want to reward with a top of the position, contract. So I understand them not signing him.
I will say this about your offense take, Brian. It's about Devontae Smith, because I can look at this real quick on my fantasy team and tell you that you might have something going on there because AJ Brown was limited in practice, hamstring. So you probably are looking to figure out, okay, how much can we rely on Devontae Smith as a possible wide receiver 1 this week, which I think is 1A, 1B. I think they're both as talented as ever. So I think if for all the confidence that you have in Brown, you could probably just transfer that directly over to Smith. But my offensive player, and it's going to just, hammer home what I said last week, it's still going to be Hurts. Because you want to make sure that, okay, on a week-to-week basis, week 1, rough for everybody on the offense for the most part. Offensive line getting snaps to Hurts, as many fumbles and interceptions. You didn't throw the time that you needed to when a guy was sort of open, and then Jair Alexander adjusts and the play's no longer open. Granted, yeah, the AJ Brown slip, sure, but I don't think that makes it a incompletion versus interception. He didn't touch the ball anyway. Maybe it does. Maybe if he doesn't slip, maybe he wrestles for it a little bit, fine. But I'm looking for more of a smooth night from Hurts. I think I was impressed by how he did against the blitz, obviously, and in motion. So we're looking for a little bit more comfort this week, just additional comfort this week from what we're kind of understanding from the Kellen Moore playbook, and just make that right read. If it's if you're showing consistency in the motion and against the blitz, then I want to see the right read made when there's no motion. And it's, the quote unquote, what we would call the Sirianni playbook. I would like to see that. I would like to see just a strong game all around from him. Now on the defensive side of the ball, I want to go directly to somebody who struggled on that side. And to me, people are kind of picking at the defensive line about, hey, when is there going to be more pressure? When is there going to be sacks? I think there's going to be more pressure once the secondary coverage is tighter. So to me, I'm calling out on this Gardner Johnson. It's just don't get beat and blown up down the field. And I think if you hold your position, and the same really goes for Blankenship too. But you see, the reason probably why I'm not calling out Blankenship is I get it. He had the interception, but that's really not it. Because Blankenship didn't play much of a better game, but he also wasn't loud about it. So that's really what I'm calling out. If you want to be loud about it, if you want to have the personality, then you got to play the game, and you can't get beat. Garner Johnson, I want to see an interception from Garner Johnson. And I want to see him have a, whatever Pro Football Focus's score is, I want to see him be put in the 90s. Let's have him have a game. And it should happen against the Falcons.
Definitely should. How you feeling, Zach?
Yeah, offensively, I mean, this is a lot that there was to like in the last game against Green Bay. As far as AJ Brown goes, I still think that he's going to be playing. I think he's going to be involved. He was just a limited participant. Hammy was just a little sore. I'm not overly worried about his absence in this game. What I will say, as far as who I really want to see shine, I don't want to see Jalen Hurts make better decisions. That's really it, because this offense is going to be elite unless Hurts continues to make decisions like he did against Green Bay. I mean, you look, they put up 34 points. How many would they have scored if they didn't, have those? I mean, you could put at least 2 of those turnovers directly on Hurts. And then you can even say what you will about the miscommunication between he and Cam Jurgens that led to the fumble, early at the beginning of the game. So it's like, you look at all these miscues, particularly those interceptions, and it's like this would have been like a 40, point scoring effort, most likely, had it not been for that. So I want to see him operating on all cylinders. I want to see him just looking like the elite quarterback that he has the potential to be. So offensively, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Defensively, and I'm going to kind of cheat here, and we can talk about I just want to give a shout out to one guy, really, because Isaiah Rodgers was a full participant in practice. We might see his, I'm thinking going to see his debut on Monday. I do wonder what the defensive alignment looks like if we see Kenyon go to the slot and we see Rodgers go to the outside. I would say that would probably be my expectation, especially just considering the fact that I don't think Maddox played great, far from it, in that first game. So I think the team was confident in moving Mitchell into the slot and then back to the outside in base packages. But the guy who I really want to see defensively is Jalen Carter. Now, this is an opportunity for him to establish dominance, and that's what I want to see. We know that he's a good player against this O-line, against this quarterback who is more of a statue than ever with this Achilles injury. And Atlanta can say, oh, the Achilles is fine. Achilles is fine. Achilles is not fine. Did you watch that Steelers game? That is not fine.
Even
so,
the practice clip, he's still not pushing off that foot.
The best Achilles in that game was the kicker for the Steelers.
That's also true. So this is an opportunity for him to maul past that O-line. It's an opportunity for a lot of people. You mentioned Bryce Huff, and I think that's a great, person to mention as well. But, I really want to see Jalen Carter establish himself as a star. But before the game, I'm going to be talking to Fletcher Cox, and that's one of the things I'm going to bring up is, what his opinions on Jalen Carter, how that, relationship was last season, and what he needs to do this year to, not become the next Fletch, because there'll never be another Fletch, but how to become a star in his own right, and I think this game against Atlanta could kind of be a platform for that.
I see Chris in the chat. He goes, TJ Watt would like to have a word, sir. I'm like, did TJ Watt kick field goals? I'm sorry. Did TJ Watt literally win the game?
Keys to the game, I feel like we kind of brushed up on a little bit here and there, where we mentioned like this should be a game where the pass rush actually gets to the quarterback, actually interferes with Kirk Cousins the entire game. Outside of that, what are your keys to an Eagles victory in this matchup?
Tightening up the secondary, but I don't, I'm not that doesn't mean by any means, like Kirk Cousins should strike fear in the Eagles defense. No, that's an overreaction. Just tightening up the secondary, because this is a game where, it's in my mind, if you have Philadelphia's defense in your fantasy team, holy hell, you should be starting them, because it's just, if they even tighten up the secondary and just even in the slightest, you're talking about more than one interception. This could be the game here where it's like, hey, we put a lot of money into Kirk Cousins, but maybe if the Falcons are smart, they should reconsider. Like this is a game where we've seen quarterbacks go down in week one, and backups are put in and they're kind of getting time and whatnot. Might be a game where Kirk Cousins is just sort of pulled. So I don't think there's a lot of help to be had here. There's not a lot that Kirk Cousins himself can do to pull the Falcons, kind of out of the hole that they're in, to make them look like any sort of threat. And if the secondary can tighten up a little bit from week one, then you're talking about a monster game by the defense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that you could be looking at that monster game from the defense, kind of taking the opposite approach there. Again, the key that I mentioned earlier is just limiting mistakes, and a lot of that starts with Jalen, but it doesn't end with Jalen. Obviously, it's the whole team. When you look at this Falcons defense, there's definitely levels to the players on it, but there's some quality players for sure. I mean, Grady Jarrett, Matthew Judon, talking to AJ Terrell, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, like there are quality players on this defense. There are playmakers, right? So it's going to be up to the offensive line. Mekhi Becton played great in week 1. I want to see that continue because, again, that's only 1 week of results. So we got to see that again and again and show that it's an actual trend. We need to see communication be better between Cam Jurgens and Jalen Hurts. Again, Hurts needs to have better decision making as well. So with all that, like going up against some of these playmakers in this Atlanta defense, it's just all about taking care of the ball, being smart. That's for me at the end of the day the biggest key.
Yeah, I think you guys both hit the nail on the head. I think the key thing is what Zach said. You got to limit turnovers. You got to just be in sync. We know we could rely on Saquon Barkley, but at the same time, we know you shouldn't overwork him. You don't want to break him to the point mid-season. But just find a way to make the offense just run smoother. I mean, that was the sell this off season, right? That this offense was going to run as smooth as possible, which is why I'm still hell bent on the theory that they should have played a preseason game. But they didn't. So here we are. Find that rhythm. Get in sync early. Even if you guys have to receive the ball, and to start the game, get in sync early. Just feed off the link, off the fans, and just ride that. It's gonna be it feels like a little bit of a short episode today, but predictions. I mean,
I can stretch out this episode.
No.
I can stretch it out. Let's go.
I got to do on my side.
Okay, cool.
Are we not doing a college football show after this?
An all-dayer.
I was about to say.
Featured on it.
I was about to say. I think Tim is on standby, and we can always bring him in.
The best part about Tim is that he's always on standby.
Dude, we talked for like 3 hours after that chat, dude. Like,
bro.
I'm not. Yeah, I believe you.
I know you do.
I just looked at my phone every 5 seconds. There was a new alert between Tim and Eric.
I feel like
dude,
at the wedding,
I was working.
3 or 4
guys,
hour
like it's a Thursday afternoon. Like I'm working. I'm in Philly at an event.
Slow,
like Ricky Council was at a school like talking to kids, and I'm there, and my phone's blowing up with you two idiots talking about a fantasy football trade.
Yo, first and foremost, like Brian was in the cross.
No, we're not doing this.
No,
first and foremost, Brian already incorrect, Eric. Already incorrect.
Brian was in the crosshairs because he put up the trade. I was like, nah, this is BS. But
he's the commissioner. That is his job.
He's the crosshairs. Your job, it puts you in the crosshairs, Brian. You're kind of like,
we need to find a mute button for Slack like we did last week with Zach.
I'm sure there is one. I'm sure you could just. Well,
I'm gonna figure it out. Every time
I thought about it for a second, just like leaving the channel as a joke, and I probably would have been better for it had I done that. But
oh god, predictions.
I know what you want.
Time of the day.
Actually, we can make that the last segment. Is that we can discuss the trade with the audience to see if everyone else likes the deal, or if
it's the funniest part. The funniest part about this is I'm gonna have. The funniest part about this is I'm going to have 2 people here talking about the trade who completely oppose it. And the funniest part about this is I was talking to Tim. I was like, well, no, I know your trade sucked. Brian's defending it.
That is the first good argument you've had for your
I've
case.
had many good arguments, but Zach is turning the corner now. And I'm just like, hey.
In my head, I'm like, bro, Jackie won the trade. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah, I know. I know Jackie won the trade.
I like it for Tim. I'm being straight honest with you guys.
I love it for Jackie. I think Jackie is Howie Roseman and Tim's the Giants.
In Tim's defense, Tim is we're going to go to this. Tim's team is completely loaded from wide receiver standpoint. Jalen Reed is only going to eat bench time. Like he's not going to start him over Jamar Chase. I think he has as well like Garrett Wilson. We're going to talk about
it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Allen Lazard.
Allen Lazard is the top receiver in the entire AFC.
And the entire
If you're in the
AFC,
chat, I need you
all
guys
of it.
to help Eric right now in this time of need, because Eric is convinced that Alan Lazard is the guy out of the Jets team as opposed to Garrett Wilson because of week 1.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is playing this year, and who had the touchdowns, Brian? You want to help me with touchdowns in fantasy football? You want to help me with that?
He had one touchdown from Aaron Rodgers. The other touchdown was from whoever came in to spell Aaron.
So you're telling me that 2 quarterbacks that are unrelated to each other are going Lazard versus Wilson?
Garrett Wilson had more targets. He's the workhorse back there. So
Great.
perfect.
Touchdowns.
Perfect segment, right? AJ Brown, Devontae Smith.
AJ Brown had a hell of a day.
AJ Brown had 100 yards last week. He had the touchdown, but Devontae Smith did have a bit of a workload. I think he had like 8 receptions or like 80-something yards. Didn't get a touchdown. Oh,
is Tim here? Oh, okay.
All right, so
I was like,
question.
Okay, so yeah, here's the trade. Before we get to predictions, here's the trade, because this will just be on my mind. I don't know, like Joe Mixon over like the last 5 years has been the most inconsistent
you gotta think about
thing.
like this.
And then you traded
Keep
Jaden
going
Reed.
5 years. Why is 5 years the argument?
Want to know
for
why?
fantasy
Because
football?
over the last 5 years, I can't tell you how many times Joe Mixon's disappointed me.
this is a personal thing. That's what it is.
Yeah,
But you want to know what?
Over
Over the entire time that Jaden Reed's been in the NFL, I can't tell you how many times he surprised me. So there's literally the difference in this trade, and Najee Harris is just there.
Exactly. That's the thing, though. So if Najee Harris is just there, right?
You
Joe
can drop
Mixon
him if you wanted to.
Joe Mixon and a 6th-round pick? No, a 9th-round pick?
Well, he explained to me why he wanted to do
since-
the picks. So he wanted to kind of like do a buffer on the pick if he wanted to keep somebody, which makes total sense.
Wait, time out.
So Eric
who got the
just
pick?
said something real quick about dropping Najee Harris, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Eric for dropping Jake Ferguson, because that was huge for me. So thank you very much.
I mean, that's fine. I got my tight end that I wanted. So
Eric has tight end university over there, bro.
No, I don't. I actually dropped another and took in a running
Najee's
back.
a bit of a bum, J-Fizz. I hate to tell you. He's a bit of a
fantasy
bum.
wise.
He's a bit booty butt cheeks when it comes to fantasy football.
I also dropped Otten and I got Hill, and Hill's getting a lot of a workload out of Baltimore's backfield with catches too. So yeah,
But
James
shout out
Cook
to
had
this,
himself a day, dude.
I have him in my other league and he's cooking, bro. I love it.
So yeah, I mean, this right here to me, I'm just like, dude, like you went out of your way to be like, I have a loaded roster. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't make you like go out of your way to make somebody look like Howie Roseman.
I just have a question though. Did Jackie get a 6th rounder from Tim or a 9th rounder?
Yeah, she got a 6th rounder from Tim. I had that backwards at first.
I had it backwards, so yes.
So Jackie got a better pick. Jackie got a better pick out of assets, and she got a player that like might have a decent time towards the end with the bye weeks, and then comparably, Jaden Reed, who just only does big plays.
Deebo Samuel 2.0,
pretty much
to some.
Pretty much, Green Bay uses him like Deebo Samuel a lot of the time. If you watch it, that's hardly a point of.
He only had one rush. Deebo Samuel be averaging like 5 rushes a game. That's not
okay. But when he had his one rush, how far did he go
against the Eagles defense? Who we're still not.
Jaden Reed is not going to be playing a prevent defense every single week. Like not every week is going to be like this past week was. And as far as the deal again, like. I like it for Jackie too because getting the pick compensation is good. You get a good young player in Jaden Reed in a keeper league. I get that. Joe Mixon is far and away the best player in this deal, and I think that's where you have to
until his knees go away in like 3 weeks. Jeez,
he was a top 5 running back last year.
Okay, what about I'll put it this way.
What about now?
Jaden Reed.
What about 1995? Let me find out where he ranked in 1995.
Jaden Reed is going to smash Joe Mixon this year.
What about every 5 years?
We're crowning Joe Mixon in this trade here because God forbid he did okay for one of his last 5 seasons. Jeez, hooray!
Jaden Reed doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't.
Reed's value is not impacted by the Love injury. By the way, you can hand him the ball in the backfield.
A wide receiver's impact is not.
If you watch how Green Bay uses him, it is not
one rushing play. One.
Do you know his yards after catch? Like that's what he thrives on.
Yes, against
You
the
can literally
Eagles. He was
dink and dunk it
torching
like
them.
they're going to do. He's going to go for like 30 or 40 yards.
Or who was playing quarterback on Friday night?
Probably Malik Willis.
No,
right?
who was playing quarterback on Friday night against the Eagles?
Oh, you mean against us? Obviously, Love.
Correct.
Right.
So you're discrediting everything that Love is able to do with a guy like Jaden Reed.
No, I'm literally saying that Jordan Love is not the whole point behind Jaden Reed.
That's what I just said. You're discrediting him.
No,
but
that does not mean discrediting. That means that Jaden Reed can get work done, and it doesn't have to be Jordan Love behind the snap.
it's not. It's Malik Willis is not going to be the guy.
You don't think Malik Willis is going to zero in on the go-to guy there?
No.
I have sources from within Liberty that can tell you that Malik Willis cannot zero in on anything. Does not exist. Zeroing in.
The zero exists, but not the N. Oh, so let's get back to Philly, guys.
Yeah, let's get back to the predictions here because I predict that tree was bad. Anyway.
You can't predict it. It's already done.
I already predicted it.
Dude rushed for 160 yards and a touchdown in week 1, but he's a bum with no knees.
Dude, I'm telling you, look over the past 5 years, and you're sitting there going, "Oh, he had a good game. He had one good game." This is a rookie dude that carried the damn team last year that he traded. Like, by the way, keeper league.
Predictions, guys. Eric, go ahead. You're fired up.
If the Falcons get stomped, how about that as a prediction? Jake Elliott wins. I don't know. Like, no, we're going based on last week. The Falcons showed absolutely nothing to me that makes me think that hey, he's pulling it up here. Well, you got to go to the year, dude. You can't just, face plant.
That's the last 5 years, though.
141 to what, 99 is?
What do you mean go to the year? That's his entire career. What do you mean go to the year?
Because I can't see the damn year, Zach. I don't know what order the damn thing is going through. Sometimes, like, when I look up hockey stats, the year's at the bottom, usually. Oh, so there it is. Dude. So I'm reading from the top here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, fair.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you.
Well, the 26, I mean, he didn't get 140 plus yards and, more points in 1 week, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, I'm trying to read over his last years, not just the last week, Zach. Thanks, guy. Okay,
yeah, and
so
they look pretty good.
Yeah,
267, 239, 287.
He played one complete season, and back in 2021, when the Bengals were credible, he did well. He got hurt. Oh wait, 2020.
21 was a complete season. They only played 16 back then.
2023, he played a complete season.
And 2021, because they only played 16 games in that season.
Okay, so he played a complete season then. Okay, fine. That's true. They added one, so his stats can be a little bit better. I got it.
They did that to the whole NFL. It's not like Jaden Reed doesn't get an extra game. Like, he has to play 16 and Joe Mixon gets 17 because he's Joe Mixon.
I'm just giving you garbage because you're like, oh, he played a full game. Yeah, okay, fine. He's changed it a little bit. No, it's looking at this here. I don't think he's gonna put up these numbers and hold them. Like, I just don't think that. I mean, I look at a keeper. I look at a keeper league. I look at a rookie receiver. By the way, in the PPR league, who's not only getting catches, but he's getting yak yards and he's used in rushing and he's going to break away big plays. And we're sitting here saying he's a bum.
No.
Oh, okay.
I said his quarterback is a bum. Malik Willis is a bum. Yes, absolutely. He's not going to get the ball to Jaden Reed. And Jaden Reed only had 11 rushing attempts last year, so he's not
Najee Harris a bum. So I just want that on the record.
That's what I'm trying to get across. I feel like we're overselling Jaden Reed just a bit much, especially in the position he's currently in. The position he's currently in. Like, this is not like You know, Tyreek Hill, you could just throw it down Phillies and catch it kind of thing. You got me like.
By the way, additionally, he's traded Jaden Reed when he has Romeo Doubs on the team, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I have Romeo Doubs. He's not even the best receiver on his team."
Well, I agree that that's not an argument for what he was doing at all. But what I will also say is that his starting running backs were Najee Harris and Aaron Jones. So you can't tell me that getting Joe Mixon in that room is not a huge win for.
If you
and I thought the price was big. The price.
By the way, if you talk to Tim afterwards, you can absolutely say that because he's like, "Yeah,
I try not to."
I went ahead and I drafted 5 receivers because it's a PPR league. I'm like, and then you got rid of like your top like half, like somebody that should be long.
No, he's got Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, and Garrett Wilson.
By the way, Jalen Waddle, like I know he's fantastic as a receiver. Who's going to be? By the way, if we're going to sit there and play this,
he's going to get bucks now.
Exactly. Yeah, but he made the trade before Tua got hurt. Like that's the thing is like he made the trade after Love got hurt. Before Tua got hurt. So, like, he's in that window where it's like that argument can go one way in this particular case.
What were Waddle's numbers week 1?
Oh, it was under. It was terrible.
Yep.
Wait, there's no.
I'm sorry, they played 41 yards in week 1. Yeah, so.
And I'm sorry,
that was with Tua.
Who did he face in week 1?
And Tua's probably, I don't know. Do you think Tua's done?
If I'm Tua, I'm done.
For his sake. I'm honestly worried about the guy.
I saw him lean in for extra yards with his head. And I was like, dumb.
Yeah,
no,
just dumb.
Yeah. Why didn't you like? You got to
slide, dude. And even if, and by the way, if you do get hit on a slide like Trent Green did back in the day, like that's dirty. But at least you slid and did the correct thing.
Yeah. Correct. You didn't put yourself in harm's way.
You're like, you got to admire his, willing to fight. And I'm like, no, you have to be smart. Like, there's nothing to. Like, if a guy runs into a burning building without a plan of what to do, like there's nothing admirable about that. Like, there's no point to it. You're only putting yourself in harm's way. So, I hate to say it, but I think for the best interest of himself and anyone who cares about him, his career should be done. He's made a lot of money so far.
I've read that if he
analyst work, he's got a good personality. But he can't keep doing this to himself.
If he actually is forced into retirement because of for medical reasoning, he actually keeps it the guaranteed money, the $124 million. If I'm him,
and I don't mean to be this guy about it, but it comes off the cap though, right?
I'm assuming. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I read that he gets to keep the entire thing, which I would do. Like, just live to see another day, man. Like,
yeah, you're telling me if he's like, if I get all that money. And I know my concussion history, and then if that means the difference between me, with kids, being able to throw football with the kids and have a walk with the kid, pay me the payout because it's not just like a $40,000 job.
Yeah,
and there's levels to it too, because like it's not just like, oh well, what are the odds that I actually die? Like that obviously can absolutely happen, but there's also a lot of harm you can do yourself before then. Like I knew guys, when I grew up playing sports, who got concussions and went blind like for weeks at a time, like crazy stuff that like you could do permanent damage to yourself forever. So like, even if you're like, oh, I'm not going to die, like, and you're in that kind of denial, like there's still a lot of stuff you can do short of dying too, that would affect your life, like going forward.
That's absolutely true. Like even with lacrosse for me growing up, like I'm pretty sure I'm an epileptic because of the concussions that I had in playing that sport. So
yeah, honestly, it could be.
So, but anyway,
I got mine from my daddy.
Was it genetic?
Oh yeah, mine's genetic. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean I have had several concussions, but my epilepsy is. Well, you know what? On second thought, I do have different. So my father has grand mal, which is the big shaking seizure.
Yeah, that's what I have.
But too. No, I have different. So I imagine that mine is still genetic though, because mine are myoclonic. There's been a lot of words for it. Myoclonic. My first, I was gonna say urologist. If I'm going to a urologist for my head, that's not a good different type of head. But anyway, so he called it the yips. So it's kind of just like a quick.
That was a yip. You had a yip right there, dude.
That's quite a yip.
All right, let's hone in on these predictions in the last. See, we
prediction Monday.
It out the 10 minutes, Brian. We had to talk about the bad dream. Yeah, so we so yeah.
You got Jay Fizzle talking about Luke Kuechly, and it's great, but like he's bringing up like serious issues, and meanwhile, I did what I did.
Just talk to your urologist about it.
Let's bring it back home real quick. All right, so score wise, dude, I said it earlier. It's got to be a blowout, and just because that makes me feel comfortable. 30-10 Eagles.
Oh, wow. Okay. How you feeling, Zach?
Yeah, I also feel pretty confident. I think that we're going pretty sizable lead. I'm actually going to go 33-13.
Okay. I'll go 34-17 just for the hell of it. I think we're up
all went in increments of 20, then you 37-17. Just please, come on.
34.
Well, listen, Young Ho's getting his like one way or another. He is kicking a field goal. You know that much.
I'm not entertaining that. Do you and Young Ho see the same urologist?
I love me some Young Ho. He is just a great kicker.
Oh, with that being said, thank you guys for joining us this week. We'll be back Tuesday night. We'll be back Tuesday night to recap the game. Until then, I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese, Zach Chavalella.
I'm changing my fantasy name. Oh, I'm sorry to break that up, but oh my god. Yeah, Brian. Go Birds!
Yes, sir.